Okay, I apologize for the delay. We had some technical issues there, but they got through those, so I'll call the meeting to order. What do we have? 10:37? Becky, would you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Mike Copine,
Here.
Keen Hudson,
Present.
Katie White. Here. Angie Shippert.
Here.
Mike Pearson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have anything they want to say before department reports? No. Okay. All right, let's move on then. Okay. Did you have the opportunity to look at last month's minutes? Are there any corrections or additions to be made, subtractions? If not, they'll stand approved as read. Okay, animal control, Terry. Good morning. I see that you're there on the screen. I'll turn it over to you.
Morning, everybody. I guess I'll start out with, I put in the packet, an updated responsibility of what we do here. Just so everybody knows, I've done one before, but it's been a while. So I don't know if anybody's getting questions on that or anything. So, and then the graphs you'll see, and we did change one of them. The entry reasons, we added more flags just so it was a little more, I don't know, individualized, I guess. So we added like evictions, people that have been incarcerated, that kind of thing. Most of them have animals, homeless. So we just sort of added some more flags there to kind of see what we take in. I don't know if anybody's got any questions on anything. The only other thing I had was, I was wanting to maybe just talk about a second vehicle. I didn't want to take it to do a board request yet, just because this was kind of the first that I've wanted to talk about this. Our truck is getting some miles on it. But now that I have 2 full-time employees, I was just wondering if that would be a possibility.
Does anybody, excuse me, does anybody have any questions regarding that?
Is there a budget in mind?
So the way I understand it is the total fund balance, this would have to be, I asked what the amount was. I don't know if my committee would have to actually ask the treasurer's office. But Paul had stated that the total fund balance may have money in it. So we would just do a transfer into capital and then pay through the capital fund.
All right.
So that would be a question for him, I guess. I don't.
Terry, do you have an approximate cost on this vehicle that you're possibly looking at?
So the one that I saw that would be perfect, it would be that type of vehicle, not new, of course, but about 22 to 25,000.
Okay, what year is that vehicle? Do you know?
I believe it's a 17. Let me look real quick.
Okay.
2017.
Okay. Would there be an additional cost to equip this vehicle for, animal control use?
No. Something like that had basically everything in it. That back shield, sometimes that doesn't always come with a vehicle. But that back shield behind the seats, that's important. And then we would just put our own crates in there. I think
Okay.
it would be a lot easier for the dogs to get up in there too.
And my understanding is that you use the services of DeKalb County in a situation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did that cost the county anything, or is that just like a mutual aid?
Nope, it's a help one county to another.
Okay. Do you have any idea how often we would need that vehicle?
Well, I have 2 employees, so both of them can technically be out. So Stephen does sort of the southern eastern side of the county. And then Brandy does like Dixon, Harmon, up in this area of the county.
Okay.
So they have
What
to
is
take
this-
turns.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
They have to take turns right now. And if we take surgeries, that's an all-day thing. So, we are left here with either somebody has to make phone calls or, like we can't go get an animal if it's a stray. I've used my vehicle before, but I don't like doing that all the time.
Sure. What is the second vehicle you currently have that you're talking about replacing?
I'm not replacing. It would just be a second vehicle. So we would keep the truck that we have.
All right, so right now you only have the one vehicle, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Terry.
Yep.
I have a
Terry,
question.
go ahead, Angie.
It sounded like to me in the first part, you talked about how we'd obtained the vehicle through the capital, but was a second vehicle already budgeted in any line item?
No.
Okay, so it would be a true like new request of the board, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Terry, is the vehicle that you located or are talking about, is that new or is that a used vehicle?
Used.
Used? What year is it?
2017.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many miles? Terry, do you know how many miles are on that current vehicle that you're looking at?
I saw it on one of them. I thought I saw it on one of the pictures, but I'm not seeing that now.
Okay.
Sheriff, do you know if there's any state bid vehicles that are available under this heading, animal control or whatever? Maybe maintenance or something that a vehicle like this could be acquired?
All of the state bid vehicles would be brand new, and they're available to any governmental entity. There are some sites out there, I believe Kevin probably knows better, but it's like some govsales.com or something like that. But they do a lot of getting rid of vehicles, midlife, where there is still some use left on them.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna ask the sheriff too, when you guys look for vehicles for the squads, you know, what's kind of that process to figure out if they're the right or best vehicles?
Well, we've been with the Ford Explorers, and then we've been using Shimmer out of Mendota. They are right around the state bid, just a couple $100 higher, but then they take good care of us and deliver everything to us.
Okay, thanks.
But it's based off the state bids. Everything.
Oh, okay.
Terry, I guess my opinion would be get the information gathered as far as the mileage and what we have for a vehicle a year and everything. And put a short summary there of why you want to get rid of that vehicle.
Second,
No,
additional vehicle.
Right. Clarify so that there are any questions come up again, that it's a second vehicle rather than, you know, a replacement vehicle. I stated that wrong. Thanks, Katie. Just put a comparison between the two vehicles and make sure that you again state that it's for an additional vehicle.
thank you.
And then since it's been a conversation situation rather than a request to forward it to finance, I'll just say that we'll table it until next meeting, next month. And if you bring that information along with the request as we require, why, that'll put us in the right direction. Is that
All right, thank you.
I don't think we table it because it was for discussion only, so she can just bring
Okay,
it back
all
as
right,
an
then
action
I won't
item.
worry about tabling it then. We won't have to take a vote. Anybody else have any other questions on that at all? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and move on. Have you got anything else, Terry, that you want to bring up?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions of Terry? Okay, thank you. Okay, Amy, it's yours. Good morning. Okay, that's not all bad. Thanks. Anybody else have any questions of nothing? Okay, let's see. Coroner, judges, and public defender are not present. Mr. Lally, EMA, please.
Good morning. Any questions for me?
I just, well, when it came to my attention, I took a look at the information and everything submitted on the unit of equipment that you had submitted information on. I did ask Kevin a couple of questions before we started the meeting, just to get a little bit better understanding for myself. And I think you put a request in for it, correct?
Correct.
I think there's a little bit more information that the questions that I asked him kind of leave it there with not enough information to answer my questions. So I think Kevin has agreed that we should table it until next month, pending acquiring the further information as far as the extent and the capabilities of the equipment and where all it can be used. And I addressed the issue back when 99, I'm in the numbers now, Amy. 911 was down for a considerable period of time. So he's going to do a little bit more research. So I'd entertain a motion that we table it until next meeting. So moved by Mr. Hudson. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Pearson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we'll table it until next month. Kevin, do you have anything else to?
Just if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to Romeoville tomorrow to, we're a certified storm weather county. We've had that since about 2004 14, 15, we were in the top 10% of the states getting that. So it's time to renew that. So I'm going to go in and renew that. That's a couple-hour meeting with the National Weather Service. So that's where I'll be tomorrow.
Okay.
What does that mean?
It means we're a storm-ready county. We're prepared for storms. We have multiple ways to receive notifications of severe weather. We have multiple ways of distributing that information for severe weather. So it's a combination. I give you the sheet. It's a whole sheet you have to go through, and if you meet that. But we were in top 10% of the state when we started it. So I want to keep that up. I don't want to drop that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just curious.
Yep. Thank you.
I do have Kevin, would you be able to just explain a little bit, tell folks about this satellite connectivity equipment, just to preference it a little bit and get a little information
Sure.
out there so folks understand what you are going to be coming, the need, the reason why, and why this is good for, for the county to have.
Sure. So we've had issues in the county before with fiber cuts where we've lost communication. I've talked to a couple board members and they wanted to know what my plan was if we lost cellular communication, such as when AT&T had an issue, and what my backup plan is. Well, if I have cellular, I can bring in devices to support cellular, but if we lose fiber, but to bring in devices to with cellular fails, we have no communication, which includes Starcom radios. If cellular fails, we fail over to what they call site trunking, and we can only talk within the county. So having that capability is a large thing to have. It's becoming very popular. The East Coast and the West Coast are the prevalent people that have it right now, just because they get hit by a lot of bigger storms. But throughout the state, there are people around the state of Illinois that have this now. IEMA has a couple units. But what it is, it's a satellite that connects to the internet through a satellite. And then it brings that satellite feed down and we can have Wi-Fi off of it. We can have internet capability off of it. And we can also have FirstNet cellular off of it within a mile range. So it would give us all those capabilities.
I was also asking Kevin before what would happen if an EMP would come, and that's been sort of in the news, and I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it would take down basically all communications. And my understanding is if we're in an event like that, it shuts everything down. It shuts 911 communications down. It could shut down squad cars, basically everything. And if you have no way to communicate, which is what this would provide, that would be at least a starting point for preparedness.
Yeah, so-
Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't ECC 911 go through this a while back where they lost, you were down for hours?
I don't want to speak for another department, but
Oh, I know,
yes,
okay.
I believe that's correct.
Would this be compatible?
I have a email into Mike asking him, if this would suffice for his.
Okay.
So I don't want to speak for somebody else.
No, I
Not
understand
having
that.
the facts. So.
That's one of the concerns I have too. Also, I understand sheriff personnel, communications, first responders, and everything, but also with the communication centers itself,
That's the first link
Yeah.
is 911. If we don't get
Exactly.
anything from 911, we don't know where to go. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, any further questions? All right, if not, we'll move on next. Probation is not here. We got Stacy's reports. Becky, do you know? Okay, all right, there was no report, so we'll move on. Sheriff, you're up.
I think my report I submitted should be in your onboard, but just hit some of the highlights. We had about 790 calls for the month of March. We had a methamphetamine arrest that resulted from a traffic stop and a canine alert where we arrested 2 individuals. One individual provided a fake name, had an outstanding arrest warrant out of Ogle County. Previously, I believe I reported involving the arrest of a Lucas Underheil following a traffic stop in which a loaded firearm was found in his vehicle. Due to provisions of the Illinois Safety Act, he was cited and released with a court date. He failed to appear. Surprise, surprise. So there's a warrant out for his arrest currently. We had another incident where we stopped an individual who provided the deputies a false name. Ultimately, we were able to identify him. He was currently out on parole and mandatory supervised release from the Illinois Department of Corrections on a period of 7.5 years that started in 2020. He was paroled, looks like June of 2023. As a result, we filed felony charges against him for obstructing justice, driving while revoked, subsequent offense, and then he resisted arrest as well. Contacted the parole with the Illinois Department of Corrections, and they failed to violate him. So unfortunately, he was cited and released and back out in custody. His court date is still pending, so we'll see if he appears. We're down 2 correctional deputies, and then a 3rd correctional deputy was off last month for FMLA. So that's caused some overtime issues with minimum mandatory staffing. Last month, during the summer months are busier, the winter months are not as busy. So the Training and Standards Board tries to get the in-service trainings, a lot of the in-service trainings during the colder months. So we sent numerous deputies to leadership, high-risk traffic stop, mental health and suicide prevention, and then suspicious death investigations. We're also in the process of testing for those open correctional deputy spots. We've done the initial testing and merit board interviews. At this juncture, we have 16 candidates remaining, so that's definitely a lot better than what we've had previously. And then I can report on, I believe I mentioned last month that we were in the process of negotiating with the villages of Ashton and Franklin Grove as far as contracting for law enforcement services. We completed the contract, sent that off to them. They both had their meetings last night, and both of them signed off and agreed to contract with the county. That's all I got.
Sheriff, what kind of success are we having now that they've got the training facility out at Sauk Valley? Are we acquiring any people from there?
Well, we use Sauk Valley when we send a new deputy off to get trained. So they do that the 16 weeks out there now. So hopefully, Sauk has been very good to work with us on that, and we've been told that they will make it work if we need a last-minute slot. But as far as correctional deputies, they do not do corrections out there. We still have to send them usually Macon. I believe Macon County has where we send them.
Have they provided any kind of reports or the success that they've had, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, or where a lot of the students are coming from?
I believe most of them out at Sauk are Northwest Illinois. So that's really made it a lot easier for us to actually get slots since there's another academy in place. Before we were having to wait for months at a time to get into either Champaign or I believe Springfield, or there was even DuPage had a academy as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions for the sheriff?
Sheriff, I know there was legislation, I don't recall if it was passed, that Illinois was going to accept like state of Iowa certified?
I believe they're still going through that process. They're getting the curriculums from each of the various states as far as what they're providing for training for their officers or corrections. Unfortunately, we just had an individual that had previous experience in the states of Texas and Arkansas. We were denied a waiver through the Training and Standards Board, so we were going to have to send them off to the academy, but things just weren't working out with that individual, so we parted ways.
Years ago, they used to refer to that as a lateral transfer.
Well, we would have some lateral transfer possibilities coming up. So far, any lateral transfers that we've acquired have been through, they were employees of the Illinois Department of Corrections, so their training married up simultaneously with ours. So,
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no more questions for the sheriff, we'll move on. Mr. Boonstra, State's Attorney's Office.
Morning, sir. As Sheriff was discussing the implementations of the Safety Act, Paul Gorski was speaking this morning a little bit about what we need to do in terms of body cam storage and that it may cost a little bit more for us to be able to store that body cam footage that we're receiving from local law enforcement, sheriff's office, state police, whatever it may be. We don't have anything in place right now. I think that there's going to be quite a bit of storage that's going to be needed both for my office and the public defender's office. But that, again, was something we had discussed at least a good 2 years ago at this point when the Safety Act was coming down the pike. Just as piggyback to what the sheriff was discussing when it comes to the Safety Act and individuals being released, I'd like to talk a little bit about that in terms of what we've been seeing. I can't say enough about what law enforcement is doing. I think they've done a great job combating what the issues are with the Safety Act. Their office, the sheriff's office, law enforcement, Dixon Police Department, I'm sure everyone's frustrated by it, just like my office is frustrated by it. And then you see things in the media, as we see things that are coming down, as sheriff is well aware of, as well as local law enforcement when it comes to the DeKalb County deputy that was killed. And that person was released because of the Safety Act. So there's a lot of problems that we're seeing with this, and now we're seeing proposed legislation that's coming through where habitual offenders, habitual violent offenders would be released that are on a life sentence just because it's going to cost too much money to keep them in custody. I don't know where it's going to end up, but it's something I think that we need to be aware of, the community needs to be aware of, and there's some real serious issues that come from this. People that are going to be delaying the court system, as Clay was just saying, that they don't show up for court. We can't keep people in custody and keep them coming to court and hold people accountable. Then we're going to have this can kick down the road. So there's a lot of issues that we're trying to work through. There's a lot of frustration. If anybody would like more answers to those, if anybody has any questions about Pretrial Fairness Act and the Safety Act and why people are being released and why things are happening the way they are, I encourage you to reach out to us. We're happy to discuss that. But just understand that there's frustrations on our side as well.
Charlie, is there any sort of effort between you and other states' attorneys in the state to, speak with legislators about the new stuff coming up that you just talked about?
So that was part of the problem with the Safety Act when it came through, is that they didn't want to talk to any of us. They don't care for our input, and that's not to say that the local legislators that we have aren't doing their job. The ones that we have around here are wonderful. They understand it and they want to work with us. It's just you get those ones from Cook County, Collier counties, whatever it may be, and they just don't care to hear from us.
Mm-hmm. Do you find the state's attorneys on that side of the state are with the legislators, or are they also seeing issues with the Safety Act?
Cook County is going to stand with the legislators. Lake County was not a part of the lawsuit that was filed on behalf of our county as well as the other counties in the area. DuPage County, Bob Berlin does a great job out there. He has been 110% against the bill, but trying to work with legislators to try to fix what issues we've seen. And he's been working with the Illinois State's Attorneys Association, which I'm a part of, and we try to give our own criticisms and our own ways of modifying the bill that we think would be appropriate. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes we get small wins out of that, but a lot of times, again, it's going to be Cook County's controlling it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Boonstra? Anything additional to add, Charlie?
Unless you want some of the collections numbers, which I can give to you. Last month, and I don't remember if I gave you the month before because I don't think I was here. I think I had a sentencing hearing last month.
We got a report last
Okay.
month, so yeah.
So this last month for the March numbers, it was $2,763.72, which was received, for the total for the year so far of $10,532.69.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Boonstra. We'll move on to report of abandoned property focus group. Jeremy, would you like to take care of that?
Sure. So the abandoned nuisance property focus group is continuing to meet the Friday before committee week. to come together and continue to work on the standing issues that we have throughout the county on large commercial properties as well as residential properties. Right now, we are very much working on trying to find a solution for the Lee Center School, along with other properties, but we, are working hand in hand with our internal departments, trying to figure out the best path forward there, knowing that that's a substantial need. It's a massive health safety hazard, and we actually took a site visit for a health reevaluation assessment that since they already have an open file case in the health department. So the board member, myself, and the health department went and was able to get inside with the sheriff's department assistance, and it is in dire need of either being torn down due to health safety hazards and or rehabbed in some capacity. So we're looking at two solutions for that. With that, obviously, it's kind of in tax sale limbo. So we're trying to figure out what the path forward is there as well. We are still in conversations with the demolition company is looking to work with us to take down some of the other large commercial buildings at mostly free to minimal cost to the county, as long as we could get the property owners on board. Along with that, either through the health department's procedures or the zoning department's procedures, we're looking at other avenues of trying to take on these other properties. And actually, we have some progress with some of the floodplain conversation that we have moving forward and how we're trying to continue that process and procedure internally, which opens up another door to take care of some of the nuisance properties that are on our list. So pretty exciting. We got a lot of movement. And I love the cooperation between, the departments throughout the county that have a common goal. And that is to make sure that, these properties, whether they are commercial, industrial, or residential, that, we're making sure that we have a safe and, healthy place throughout the county, whether that, again, specifically in residential areas. I mean, there's a lot of issues. So we're working on that. Anything from you, Mike, because you're a part of that committee, or Dean?
Well, I just have to agree with you as far as where we were in the meeting here. Each department has reached probably the end of the trail that they can go as far as their authority or the ability to do something as far as their service end of it. We are trying to fine tune through state's attorney's office and the attorney that we have that handles these properties. So once we get that tuned a little better than it is and everybody's got a good understanding of it, I think we're going to be real close to being 100% successful on what we approach or attempt to do. It's going to be time consuming because of the financial responsibilities in some of them, I'm sure, but right now we were successful in taking care of 4 properties that I can think of right off the top of my head: 251 and 30, Compton, West 4th Street, and then we had an issue of cesspool come up in Nelson. So those are 4 of the ones that we took priority in, and were able to, through the assistance of the attorney that is handling them, through the assistance of the state's attorney and the sheriff's department, it's progressing quite well. And I think it's only going to improve. So thanks again, Jeremy, on your end of things too. Any other questions? Okay, if not, I don't have anything under unfinished business. I don't have anything. Kevin, do you want to go over the satellite connectivity and equipment again, or I think everybody was pretty well.
If anybody had any questions, I'd be able to answer those. There was a cut sheet that was sent out in the packet that really can explain it.
Okay. All right, that's all there was for anything under new business. Let me double check and make sure. I have nothing unless Mr. Boonster has something for executive session.
No, sir.
Right. I did have down for what we discussed with Terry on animal control and the acquiring a new vehicle, and we're going to move on with that with Terry getting some more information on both vehicles, the addition, not the, I'm stuck on getting rid of one of them. The addition of the second vehicle. If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Hudson. Seconded by Ms. Shippert. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.